Sorry I'm late, guys. Part of my plan to read one of my stories didn't work out because apparently it's not in the folder I planned to have it in with my other story. So I'm just going to read the story I've been reading and read some poetry and plan the other story for next month. I know there's a lot of people who was waiting for me to be on at 1:30, so hopefully I'll still see some of those people. I spent some of my time looking for the other folder, and I have no idea if I left it at my sister's or if I left it in my van. My brother took my van to work. My mom was supposed to be back here, so I was kind of off what I planned to do. And I don't think they understand that I usually do my broadcast the first Saturday after the 19th. So everything's all unorganized. Not organized like I planned to have it. Hey, She Devil Adventures. Got one of my people that I usually get to see here on Saturdays. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. I'm a little late with my live, so hopefully they didn't throw off some of the people who planned to be here. I've been editing the story that I originally had. It was only 44 minutes long, and it was originally going to be a short story. But the story is so interesting. There's more people who want to see it turn into an actual story, not just a short story. I have a total of 14 pages written now. I'm doing just one-sided drafting, and the writing takes a long time. So if it takes too long, then I just record some of it and then write it down later. The last time we were doing a live stream, I had trying to get cut down on some of the glare. I had finished up with, was it the live stream? Yeah, I finished up with the mom was bringing the baby home, and she had talked a little bit about how weird things had turned out to be while she was pregnant and after she had the child. Let's see. Guess that's the best view I'm gonna get. And I think I'm still getting messages from my mom or my brother, one of the two. So it's been 3 minutes. So I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. And so I edited the story. Originally, when she brought the baby home, it was like a brief description of something that happened later after the child was no longer a baby. I went into more depth into a little bit of the thought of the mom while she was with the baby the first 2 days after she was born, and then I went into um, the thoughts of the mom during the time that the girl was 7, which is where I pick up where the story actually starts picking up the pace. And then I kind of switched between the two. Originally, it was just from the little girl's point of view, and then mom's point of view, but I decided to mix it a little bit so that you can see what the mom is thinking or the daughter's thinking in between the situations that happen, instead of just having one point of view and then later having to go back and have the other person mention what happened. I kind of do that a little bit because they're taking turns talking, But instead of having a whole chapter where it's just one person talking, I mixed the two up. It's been 5 minutes, so I'm going to start reading. See, try to take one at a time so I don't mix up these pages or drop them. These are prescription sunglasses, so um, I'll be using these to read with. This is starting from the mom's point of view. Now I had my baby girl home. I felt I could take a breath and think. As she slept, I let my mind wander over the last trimester of my pregnancy and to my first day with baby June at home. A home that I had lived in only a year and a half alone. I watched her sleep in a cradle I had been given by the ma at the mom and pop cafe that I worked. The town called her Ma and her husband Pa. The cradle had the old-fashioned frilly lace sewn onto a baby pink background and basket following the same pattern. Now then, now and then, as baby June stirred, I would rock her slowly and gently till she was still again. My mind drifted back to somewhere near mid-trimester, the first day I knew for sure my pregnancy and maybe my baby were unusual. That sci-fi strange I mentioned. I woke up from an intense stinging that was turning into a burning sensation, and I struggled into wakefulness after a rough time getting and staying asleep. First part of the night. When I was finally able to move, I yanked my hand clear of the sunlight. I noticed the area exposed to a ray of sun formed from nearby window was red, and in the center it had blistered. A trip to the doctor brought on by my red spot that stung so that I had to use the shawl I kept in the car to cover my face and my shoulder and arms. Once I explained my sudden and painful late morning waking and showed the falling red exposed skin, the doctor's diagnosis had me staring at him like he was insane. I have what? Was my answer, in a tone that said I didn't like the joke. The doctor repeated, "It's not uncommon to gain unusual allergies during pregnancy. It appears to be a sun allergy. Some allergies are indicative of the baby's allergies during the baby's development in the womb." You see, I dislike doctors, or more correctly, clinics and hospitals, but I was not going to do my baby and myself more harm than birthing during an unstable lifestyle. That day began my struggle to learn what to eat and how to dress to deal with sun allergy. Needless to say, this might be the life my poor June would have to live. Out of the two I encountered that day out at the bar, only the white-haired stranger had become a blur, and what happened after my second mug of drinking challenge never came to me. Just the thought that I had never lost consciousness during the second challenge, and especially my second mug, two mugs, that should never have brought on the blackout. Baby June gave a fussy stir, and I rocked her, watching to see if her eyes opened as feeding was approaching. When she quieted again, I decided to wrap up my thoughts with the memory of bringing her home, covered from head to toe. Though she had been released in the middle of the night, after an evening birth. I didn't know if I believed it to be a sun allergy or an environmental allergy, so I took precautions to cover her even though it was night. The next day, I tested my baby for sun allergy. The briefest of seconds, her foot went red as I sat by the window of my bedroom breastfeeding her. I was as fast as I could be and felt as bad even though felt a few seconds had the skin on the back of her left foot red. Her sensitivity was quadruple times stronger. I had to have I had to have my once lazy skill developed for sewing to make long sleeves and pants with a breathable light material. This would be how she would always have to dress. An unbidden tear dropped into June's face as I sat breastfeeding her that day, and her eyes opened to stare at my face a long moment before she sunk into a milk-filled sleep. I came back to the present, and I saw it was time to feed. She blinked a few times and fussed as I reached down to gather her for feeding. After this, we would both go to sleep. She was nearly 3 months now and beginning to train to feed and sleep 4 to 6 hours at only one part of the day. The other times was like a half sleepy nap, too brief for me to join her. I wondered, would she ever sleep fully throughout a night or only at afternoon to dusk? Hey, Amanita. Greetings in Finland. I'm glad you could be here. Chapter 1. Groggily, I turn over, blinking at the sunlight into streaming through, but not touching the corner where I slept in my room. There were only two windows, about average width and length. The apartment where we were staying in now is one of the bedroom apartments with the kitchen and living room divided by a counter and a cooking surface. A a partial wall became part of the counter and blocked the cooking surfaces. Then there was a partial hall with a bathroom at the end across from the bedroom. I rose, shielding my eyes from the sun. I had decided to nap so I could see how the rest of the day went normally. The summers were cooler, a little less harsh, or more likely to have clouds. I forgot how many times we moved from the harshness and hotter sun and always sunny states to the dry but cooler and still always sunny states. And now we were it where it was cloudy, if not raining a lot. Any moves aside from sun how much sun and how much heat in the summer, I hardly paid attention. I was much younger, and even now, this was my first summer here. I just turned 7 this spring. Mama had started teaching me numbers and letters as soon as I showed interest in about 4 years old. I knew how to spell my name, June Rhea Jones, how to do addition to up to 3 times table, and how to read some types of books. Mama would teach me as long as my brain was sponging it up, or she ran out of ideas, or I was bored of one subject. Then she would change to something else for a while. Now she was starting to teach me about the United States. We were starting with weather and climate areas as that would affect me most. We would learn names later, closer to the normal school term, and let me enjoy exploring as best I could during the break from school. And resettling from moving and the schedules of the large crowds of people. Always best to stay away from large crowds and avoid too much direct sunlight, Mama always told me. Sun directly shining on me always brought pain. I stayed to the shadows, and wore light clothing during the summer that still had to be long sleeves and long pants legs. Even though I thought I was younger in the even though I was younger in the hotter and sunnier states, we stayed the heat would get to me, so in summer I stayed inside and Mama found things for me to do. Today I was going out a bit earlier to explore with my light jacket of almost see-through sleeves and darker head covering to keep the sun from burning me immediately. Sun allergy is what Mama said the doctor called it. I went out back where the sun had been to make longer shadows, to play in the shadows of the trees, and on my porch shielded from the sunlight. The day was on the front the sun was on the front side right now. I picked up speed running between the trees. I felt that if I could move faster, I could keep the shadows constant enough to avoid burning or stinging. The trees seemed to blur as I ran faster. I ran back to the porch as I thought I heard someone stirring in a nearby apartments. I couldn't be seen from the windows. Most likely one of the elderly, as most of the youth would be out at the park, pool, or at the mall at this time of day. Thank goodness for the trees, or I would have to watch more than just the front. And I have to watch out for the back part of the apartments. Around front Around the front there was a playground, but I stayed clear unless it was dark, and most everyone slept. I knew I was different in being in the open trying to hide. It made no sense. It was better not to try playing outside with other kids. After I wait till the sun moved the shadows again and things seemed to be quiet again, I had the idea to see how high I could jump. At least one of the many trees was real close to the porch. I was harder It was harder to see the porch of neighbors without being outside due to the set of the windows on the back side of the apartments. Lower floor windows were in front, except the kitchen and living room window. I jumped a few times trying to reach the next higher up branch of the tree. On the third jump, I missed. The next up higher and sort of slid and fell down the rough bark. Hey, Victoria. I had been trying to reach with one hand on the side I thought was I could stretch and jump higher. I ended up skinning the inner part close to my right elbow. It stung enough I instinctively licked the spot. I was going to try again when I heard Mama's voice calling. After she called me inside, she said she saw me lift the thin sleeve and lick the scrape near my elbow. She wanted me to get it cleaned up properly, then have a snack and chill out for a bit. I guess I hadn't napped long enough, so I fell asleep after my snack of watermelon and blueberries and a sip of pomegranate juice, followed by some water to wash the tart. As June slept, I prepared myself to sleep. While she ate her snack, I had showered and laid out clothes for the late night, cleaned up at another cafe with hometown cooking. I could only work cleanup in order to avoid the rougher night crowd, and only because I had to have June with me in the back. She helped me with dishes while I took care of the more dangerous kitchen accessories. It had been hard working only cleanup and trying to take care of a baby who is now a child. But my dad died young working hard. I didn't know until June was born and I decided to visit Grandma, Dad's mother. Dad had put away a large sum to help me when I had started a family of my own. He had seen how rough things were, with no middle ground for Mama to feel at home, the other relatives not agreeing to embrace her decision to marry an American of fading Irish bloodline. So Dad knew I would feel uneasy if I had to go to the other relatives for help. Grandma had been loving and quiet with all the friction. I think she I think she knew that I would feel uneasy and I would need her memories and love to fend off the loneliness and uneasiness the fights between families forced on us. The world needed no help being cruel. The sum had helped me not worry about June's early baby years and focus on preparing and thinking and being creative. I would wake when June woke. She would play outside when most had gone to bed after she had dinner. Then we would both go to clean at the mom and pop cafe, as was my usual work. After the crowd thinned just before closing, I would begin cleaning surfaces that would be shut down as the menu grew closer and closer to closing. They stayed open till 11 p.m., and there were a lot of jobs that stopped at 9 p.m., if not 3 p.m. Another thing, a small town living business and jobs worked together, their hours working off each other for the best of the townsfolk's success, which also meant the town's success. I worked as June nudged me. I woke as June nudged me, and we went through our nightly routine. When things were done at the cafe, we played at the park and talked about her going to school. I introduced the idea a few times this month. Summer was beginning to end, and June would be turning 8 in the spring. I needed to work more so we would have the money if we needed to move or get tired of the small town. June knew I couldn't stay still long, and the workings of the town and quietness would run me off. Some small towns were really busy and more friendly to strangers, though those were the places I would stay 3 years, maybe ease another year if things would work out. I sat I sat looking at Mama, feel feeling the tension small towns would do closely knitting working, maybe because it was easier for families to openly gossip. This may this made both their lives less and harder to smile. We did less here in the last 10 months than anywhere. I agreed to go to school till she had the extra to feel safe to move. She didn't want to overuse what grandpa left us, her dad. It would be Saturday tomorrow, and I was looking forward to a night of just us and no worries. This would be June's first year of public school. I didn't expect her to agree so quick. After I told her I wanted to save up more in case we needed to move, June gave me a long, knowing look that felt like she was doing more than just looking. The air seemed to go still, and my skin prickled with what I thought was sweat at the first at first because of the summer night. Then it was like a brief chill, and I was looking at myself with tension like a slight fear showing on my face. I knew I was feeling my feelings. I was seeing and blinking I was seeing me and I blinked as everything cleared and heard her say, "Sure, I'll go to school, but only till we have enough to make it. I don't like it here either." She got up, walked to the house, and I numbly followed in a sort of shock. What was that I just now I got the sun in my eyes. What was that I just saw and felt? I remembered suddenly how I watched her running, her speed increasing it seemed as time inched closer toward dusk. Then how she'd been jumping nimbly up into the tree branches of the tree, higher from the ground each time, then letting go again and jumping higher into the next, till she missed the third branch. She had tried to reach that had nearly been 4 feet taller than she stood. The near trance I had been in watching, but not sure if I was seeing something very unusual, broke when she scraped her inner arm and licked it. I quickly moved to the door and told her to come in and wash the scrape. I added, "Please don't lick scrape sores, because the tongue is not clean, and the sore could have bacteria that would create an infection." I had a snack ready for her as she washed up, and told her to take a break. She had reluctantly agreed and fallen asleep. I had nearly forgotten until this strange moment. I finally looked around, finding her with her busying herself with toys as I stepped into the shared kitchen to get us some food before her nap. I shook my head and stored the experience for processing later. Now, if I could just. There we go. Oh, did I freeze up? I'm seeing myself frozen. Are you guys seeing me frozen? I don't know if my phone just did something weird. Hey, Rideshare Road Warrior Rick. Okay, now I see myself move again. I don't know if it froze up and you guys could hear me. Okay, all right. So continue with the story. It's kind of confusing. I'm gonna have to figure out how to do the voice for the little girl and how to do the voice for the mama because I'm switching between the two. Right now, I have a stuffy nose, so I'm struggling to clearly read, and you can't really hear the difference between the two. So I'm gonna have to work on that, making a difference between the two voices of mama and the little girl, not just read differently. I woke up hungry. I had only I had only had a snack before my nap. I looked across the room and saw Mama had fallen asleep in her chair instead of the bed. She had seemed a little dazed after we talked, and I figured she had gone off into thought about how to make work and school schedules match up. She figured it out, no doubt. I decided to fix us both some eggs and some sprinkled cheese. She would be waking, so as she'd be working soon as the light of the sun was beginning to brighten. I would find something to do until my sleep in the afternoon and let her continue her plans. I had pushed waiting till 2:30 to sleep to begin training myself to wait until after school to sleep. It was only an hour longer than usual before I slipped into sleep and awoke as the sun was hovering over the horizon. This was the time of day I had scraped my arm yesterday and falling into a deep nap after the snack, since I was bored and I couldn't go out. As I woke, Mama had a good dinner waiting, warming it in the oven, and had apparently gotten her a wink or two as well. She'd been busy with papers before I slept and went back to them as we ate after we ate. I was in a hurry to go out and play, so she went back to shuffling and writing. When the bell when the bell rang and I confirmed it was a little girl before opening the door, we both looked shocked. I took her to show her my toys in the bedroom, where we both decided were to play superheroes with the dolls. Then she ran and slid into the chair by the window and bed. She started to cry, and I rushed over to pull her out of the sunlight and check her for scrapes. I didn't want her to cry, or we would have to stop. I had been worried about getting burnt too. I hadn't been worried about getting burnt too, but more her crying was worrying me. And I saw she had skinned her knee and it would bleed. So I took my finger and wiped the bleeding, and I brought my finger to my mouth again to repeat the motion of stopping the scrape from bleeding. Then it seemed it would stop dripping. I finally focused on talking to the little girl. She looked at me with a mix of surprise coming out of her cry. I'd never seen such a face, but I knew this was not the time to laugh. I asked her what was wrong, and she asked me if I always licked the blood on the sore. I said, I did yesterday. Then I countered with a question, doesn't she lick her sores? She shyly said, sometimes, on her finger or her hand. Well, then I replied to it, the same thing I just did. I didn't want you bleed. I didn't want you to bleed and cry. Only before the conversation could continue, Mama poked her head in and saw the scrape. She ran to get the stuff to clean sores and the band-aids. Then she told the little girl to let her mama know. So that was my brief encounter with another near my age. Boy, was she clumsy. It was like watching a cat and dog. Our movements were so different. Afterwards, Mama took me aside and told me again not to lick sores. There could be an infection. She added, especially not other people's blood because of harmful germs each person could carry. They were different from each other. She had me play quietly while she went to talk to the little girl's mama. While I sat with the dolls, I had time to think about what just happened and about what didn't happen. I did not burn. I thought about the time Mama said she tested to see if I would react to the sun. Only seconds my foot went red. Why didn't anything happen this time? I walked over to the shaft of sunlight coming in as the sun was setting and placed my hand, then my arm, into the light. Hey, Spaceman Dudley. Slowly, a little at a time, nothing happened, and I could only stare. My first thought, at first, my thoughts rushed together fast in a jumble with one large question: why? That's as far as I got on editing the Daylight Allergy story. I was originally going to read another story, but I can't find the notebook. Hey, Spaceman Daily. I'm doing pretty good. I read 14 pages of the edited story, and looks like it came up a little shorter than 30 minutes. I had planned to read another story, which probably would have taken me about another 30 minutes. But since I don't have that story, it was one I wrote when I was 12. I either left it in my van, which my brother took to work because my mom had her van, or I left it at my sister's where I was originally going to read both stories because she's got Wi-Fi and I'm doing data and data doesn't always cooperate with me. But since I don't have that story, I'm going to read some poetry that I wrote when I was in school. I almost dropped my phone. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving too, Spaceman Dudley. Now, if I can just remember where I put that notebook, get my papers together here. Good thing I numbered all my stories. I'll have to organize that later. It's kind of hard to organize it with one arm. Hopefully, yes, good. I left my notebook where I could reach it. This notebook, I think I had this notebook in high school. Okay, this notebook I made a collection of the different poetry that I did in high school, and maybe some from school and from middle school. I know I read this one time before when I first started doing live streams, but I didn't read all of the poetry. So I'm just going to go back through some of them, trying to make that full hour. This one I put down copyright 2002. I would have been, let's see, I was turning 18 in 2000. So I would have been 20 when I wrote this story. It's called, or wrote this poem. It's called A Wish for a Star. Trying to get the glare out of your guys' face. He wrote it down on paper, asking for a certain young woman. I was a twinkle in the sky when I saw a spark down below. I knew it was a wish for a heart's deep desire. Seeing how I saw it, I knew it was for me to answer. And there he was, this young man, in his mind a note to read, a young woman of special specifications, the words no way to speak. And under those specifications, my name. There was no, my name was there to see. How could he know my name except it were for he whom I was sent? I got about 11 years on you. That one I wrote in my 20s. Then there's one called Forever Distance. This one I remember writing in high school. I would have been maybe 10th or 11th grade. The Forever Distance. All travel a forever distance, sometimes joyful, sometimes sorrowful. Maybe half is desert, maybe half is temperate climate. If you're a very lucky person, a rainforest or two. Whether you be rich or poor, whether your dreams are fulfilled or not. At life's end, the distance is not traveled. You still trek on in the forever distance. Take care, Spaceman Dudley. Thanks for dropping by. And of course, if you think about it, it does sound a lot like life. I'm pretty sure I meant for the forever distance to be life. And for some of us, we believe that when you get to, as you're traveling through your life journey, at life's end, you're not finished, and you're still going on in your forever distance, and your life continues on in another phase. The other one is called Never Alone. This one I also remember writing in my 20s. I think I was 21 when I wrote this one. It's called Never Alone. Why wish on a shooting star when we can share in one not far? God, you, and me. Forever distance is a truism. At 71, I know. Let's see here. These poems I know for sure. I would say I'm pretty sure they were ninth, and here's one I did actually put ninth grade, 1996, and I believe this was imitation of alliteration. The swift, clever, capable fox kept jumping over the lazy, comfortable, sleeping dog. I think I'm not sure, but I think that's what it was supposed to be. If not, I forgot what type of poem it was. But this one, strangely enough, we didn't do it in English. We did it in history. And I couldn't figure out why we were doing something like that in history. But it might have been like, what's it called? Not American history. Um, Not geography. I can't remember what it's called, but it's more of like, social history. That might have been what it was. The next one is just a descriptive one line poem. I think this might have been haiku. We glim. No, it's not a haiku because it's not. We gleam as like a rainbow, but when aroused as one, we strike like a storm. In my mind, I remember thinking it's like how families should be, and when you have teamwork together, you're like a rainbow. And if you take care of each other, somebody messes, then you usually get together and take care of the situation. But in high school, that's kind of how you think. If somebody messes with somebody, you'll keep them from messing with that person. That there's somebody that you used to hang with. This one says 9596. There are different people in different places. There are different things different people do. There are different times for different things. There are different feelings for different people. There are different times for different feelings. No matter how different people are, they all have the same feelings. Hey, Tracy Oceanfire. That one is nice. Very nice. Came in earlier listening. Oh, thanks. I hope you heard most of the story. Next time I'll try to have a little bit more of the story. I think I did better. Last time I added it, it was like only 10 minutes. And I thought it would be like 30 minutes worth of reading. This time I only planned about 30 minutes for that story and I matched my time. But I had planned to have like an hour, like another 30 minutes to 45 minutes to read a different story. And since I don't have that, I'm just reading my poetry. This poem is not written by me. I had looked it up before, but I forgot who it was. It's called Listen to the Mustn't Child. Listen to the mustn't child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossible, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves, then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be. This poem was shared with me and my classmates in fifth grade. And it stayed with me. So I remembered it and I got it written down. Next time I think I'll write by it who it's from, because I know it's not gonna be the last time I read this story, read this poem, because to me it's an important poem. It makes you think about how negative people think sometimes, and how sometimes as a child you have to be told, just think about it. Anything can happen. Anything can be. You're young. You have time to make things happen. And when you're older, you understand how to make them happen. So if you just try and you just talk positively, you can have things happen that you want to happen. Okay, now these two are definitely a haiku. I think they're based off of the 575. If not, one of them was the 7-11-7, but I think it's the 5-7-5 syllables. Summer, hot, dry, sticky. Always short, never long. Scorching, humid, summer. And then I get one for spring. Spring, bright, beautiful, lively, never failing, never ailing, green, dense, fresh, spring. I still like listening to those when I forget that I had written them down and I found them in my journal of poetry and songs. And I was like, wow, I really did some good jobs back then when I did some writing. Whenever I think about the creative writing we had to do in school at the time, when we actually had to do some creative writing, I was like, oh, I could do that. But I didn't really care for writing, but I liked the idea of creative writing. Thank you, Tracy. This one has to do with time. Time ticking, body wasting away, life going by swiftly, fun ending and just beginning, time's ticking, leaves falling, trees growing bare, time's ticking, and life is moving on. This one I know I wanted to put to show time moving for both people and our plants. The earth itself is experiencing it, not just us. So it was kind of like share the correlation of us and the trees. For us, the body wasting away, and for the trees, the leaves falling, and the trees growing bare, where our lives are going by swiftly. But either way, for both creatures, the life is moving on. If you haven't done so, please remember to do a thumbs up. I don't ever remember to say that. But this time I did. See, this one is antagonist from an ancient age. And I know it's kind of in a goofy mood. It's still kind of like a science focused thing. I did this one, I know, in my 20s. I don't remember if I was 20 or 21. Antagonist from an ancient age. When we become engaged, which I did get engaged and get married in my early 20s, we'll be ready for the next stage. From ourselves and our hands, we must wash bacteriophage. They are different from one another, so a war they may wage. In my body, I know they'll rent and rage. So I can't let them, you see, take center stage in the next chapter we go to as we turn the next page. That was like a kind of a slant on humor, kind of silly. And I remember I just got through saying something to the guy I don't remember if I was married or engaged at the time, but I think I was engaged, getting ready to get married, like the last few months till marriage. And I remember I was giving him like a science lesson on, hey, you have to make sure that you're regularly washed. Make sure that you wash your hands because we're sharing the same environment. When I come in your environment, I don't want to have to get sick and all kinds of other stuff. Things that sometimes teenage guys don't think about. And when we're girls turning into our 20s, we're thinking we're becoming adults. And boys are thinking they're just continuing with another level of teenagehood, that they just got more freedom. So with guys, some guys, especially in their 20s, they're like, I just want to play. I don't know why you're taking things so seriously. So I kind of made a little joke out of what I was talking to him about. This, I know it was, I guess it was the same day because I could tell by the subject level. Is this romance? It only takes a tad for for those bacteria are bad. If I become sick, I'll be so sad. For those germs are from a sickness that is wanting to be had. If we observe good hygiene, I'll be oh so glad. And here I'm thinking I'm thinking like an adult, and when I'm reading it now, I'm thinking that still sounds like a teenager talking. More of a kind of like a serious teenager, but still sounds like a teenager talking. The touch of the muse. I guess I had like a year where when I first graduated from high school, maybe 2 years. They both blurred together, and I was just doing a lot of writing, and I was doing art instructions long distance. So I was doing art, which I have to dig that out for you guys because I found it. I was doing art for the school where I had to get graded, and I don't think I put that much effort into art before. I mean, I did put a lot of effort into my art, but that was like a different level. I enjoyed drawing and enjoyed being challenged to be able to create what they wanted us to create and to be able to have the chance to be creative sometimes. So I'll dig that out. And when I read my story that I was expecting to read to you guys from my seventh grade year when I was 12, I'll also take time to show you guys those pictures. I think I'll start off with showing you guys the pictures and then read the story so that makes it where people have time to come in to listen. The next poem is The Touch of a Muse. I was thinking of a limit. I was thinking of a time when a ring would hold a diamond, and the answer came in rhyming. In sleep, what really weird timing, and the words just kept on flying. It just felt all in so exciting. So my hands just kept on writing. That was definitely engagement time. And the next one, poem after all. I was trying to challenge myself to write daily, I think, or at least write weekly in between everything that I was going through at that time. So this one I know is called Poem After All. And I remember thinking I couldn't think of anything that day, and which was rare for me to go completely blank. So when I was thinking about the poem, so I was thinking about on how to write it came to me, so I started writing those words down. After writing in some rhymes, a few, I wanted one for a year anew. I asked God why none came on cue. That's fine, I said, 'cause I'm with you. Then in my mind, one to view, for want of a poem I now knew. God answers prayers, for one came on cue. Here's one, not two, for sleep is due. My prayers for a poem will nicely do. It's funny when you're thinking at the time that something's happening is serious to you, and when you look back on it, you're just like, that's so silly. I have a partial song that I have written here after these poems. I might try to. My nose is stopped up, so I can't really sing like I normally did, which is the only reason why I missed. Well, it's the second reason why I missed the Victoria's live. Whenever I would like to have sung, but I didn't have the connection. I was having a horrible time with connection, and at the same time, I was getting worse, getting sick, and stopped up. This one is a song I remember writing between the winter of 1994 or 1995, one of those two winters. Thank you, Tracy. This one is labeled "Oh, I Fly into the Blue Above the Trees." Oh, I fly into the blue above the trees, soar over plains I see, and to the mountain top, where I stop to look around and watch my problems go by. And then my problems seem so far away. The past no longer hated, now a part of me. A chain it used to bind no longer Sorrow can no longer make its claim on me. I choose the path of prayer to help. I'm not sure how I do that. I choose. No, okay. I choose the laugh of prayer to help my life go on. Now I fly into the blue above the trees, soar over plains I see, into the mountain top, where I stop to look around and watch my problems go by. I go creating higher joy to see, with God imparted gifts above the highest cliffs. Lord Jesus said, if not too high a claim, seeking higher gifts is not a work of vain. Just open up your heart to have His love proceed. Now I fly into a blue above the trees, soar over plains you see, and to the mountain top, where you stop to look around and watch your problems go by. I remember I sang that when I had to be in 7th or 8th grade. I have to go back and count the years, 1995 or 1994. Which, with the sore throat, I don't think I did too bad. But I remember singing that song, I could like hit high pitches. It's still not too bad. I'm surprised I remembered the tune, because that's a long time ago. Thank you, Tracy. Maybe if I could practice this song, I could sing this song that I wrote in Victoria's Live. Hopefully by the next Wednesday, all this is cleared up, because I hate it when I really want to sing and I can't sing. And that one was called I'll Fly into the Blue Above the Trees. The other one is kind of a song, but I really don't remember the tune to it. So I'll read it like it's a poem. It's called Go Up. Let me tell you, there's a higher way. I believe there's a higher faith. Another level you can just stop. And every stair never gonna reach the top. You've got to just go up, go up. Every day you've got to read and pray and go up, go up. Every day you've got to learn a new way. Go up, go up. For every step there is another there. A line that can be added. Every day has got a brand new style. No, a brand new stage. I think I like that. Every day has got a brand new stage. And every course has got some obstacles. For every mile you haven't got too close. For every turn there is another curve. And every hurt will hit another nerve. You've got to go up, go up. Every day you've got to read and pray. Go up, go up. Every day you've got to learn new ways. Go up, go up. For every step there is another there. Wow, this is a long one. I think it continues. Yep. I can tell you there's a higher way. I believe there is a higher faith, another level, and you just can't stop. And every stair, never gonna reach the top. You've got to go up every day. You've got to read and pray. Go up, go up. Every day you've got to learn new ways. Go up, go up. For every step, there'll be another there. What it's meaning is not that there's not a top, or what it is meaning is that there's not a top. No matter how improved your life is, you can always improve on it. And no matter how things feel, there's never going to be a time that you don't have some hurt sometime in your life. But you just got to realize that's going to be part of life. And learn another way to deal with the frustrations in life. and learn another way to improve what you have, then continue to go up another level. That's what the go up means. And every step you take, there's going to be another there. There's always more that you can do to improve. That one's good. That one's good enough to be a poem or a song. It says there's 5 in here. Let me make sure I'm not missing any comments. This last one was a poem I came up with for the wedding. It was like I did a themed wedding where everybody who wanted to participate. It was up to them. Came dressed as a king, a queen, a prince, a knight, a princess, or a maiden. And the name of this is The Purpose for Matrimony. Wedding Announcement Poem 2003. I put all these on my wedding announcement. 'Tis a season passing, and another begins. From the changes one can see, the last of youth fades, and the signs of full adult approaches. Though late spring, from early summer, the brunt of the sun approaches. One must strive to survive, for the heat of those days can wither the strongest, not carefully prepared. Out here in the heat of the summer, one must learn to fend for oneself. But if one has another, the rate of survival is bettered, for then it's twice the preparations, twice two can keep peace and cooperation. All battles are best won, all obstacles are best defeated when there is twice the brawn. And here is an alliance fit even for royalty, the union of man and woman. Come one, come all, to witness the union, the holy matrimony of Charlisa, which is, my full name, and her paladin and prince, which I'm not going to mention names, ambassador and prince of foreign origin. The person who wedded us read this out, and it was like in colorful, I think it was like pink shaped paper that was put on cards, and my ex's mom was the one who put it on the pretty cards, and I sent it out to a lot of people. And I kept this because I knew I want to think about how creative I was during that time period of my life, and it was a poem that could also be changed a little bit and be like teamwork and not necessarily matrimony. This one, I'm not sure if it's a poem or a song. Thank you, Tracy. Yes, God is love. God is love. He knows a lot of times we're influenced by spirits, so he doesn't get mad so fast. God is love unless we keep doing things that are bad over and over and over. God is love. Even though a lot of times we don't even say anything to him until we need him, still, God is love. Some of us don't ever speak to him when we come to his house, and we just get stuff and sometimes play around, then leave without saying goodbye. God is love. We treat him bad, and I name just a little. So can't you tell? God is love. I think it's just a poem. I remember thinking about this because at the time I remember going to church a lot and watching how some people just weren't taking things seriously. They weren't there to be there to like commune and be nice to people. They were there like a club, and sometimes they would talk about people. And that was just a phase. 2003, the church I was going to at the time. The church I have now that I go to, I don't get to go as much as I probably would go because I have to have somebody to drive me. A lot of times it seems I'm out of town on Sundays because I'm either going to poetry or I'm with my sister, and she's She lives in Little Rock, which is 2.5 hours one way. And if I'm not doing that, I'm traveling somewhere else. But from that place, that I've learned a lot more about the same kind of love we have in our community. There's genuine care. No one really wants to talk bad about people. There's probably a few here and there because there always is when there's a large group, but the majority genuinely care about the other person. And if they don't hear from you after a while, they'll text you and ask how you doing, and just have like a little short chat about how things are going, how the weather is, um, what's the newest thing that like prices in store, an idea for deals or something. Just like idle chat on the phone. I'm trying not to glare you guys out. There you go. I'm getting a little fidgety in my chair because I usually have to lay down after a while because my back and my pressure points when I sit down because I have fibromyalgia. So I think I'll read a couple more. It's been I at least made it to the hour. It's been a few minutes over, and I'll read. Let's see, one. I'll read these two, and then I'll close for the day. I really appreciate you guys coming in and listening. This one is Lord for all your people. To the kings of kings, Lord being us spring. I'm not sure what that means. Till the end of things, to the King of Kings, your face bring your peace bring till all life endings. I don't really I probably messed up some words to say to the King of Kings, Lord being a spring. Till the end of things, to the King of Kings, your peace bring till all life ending. Not sure about that one. That's not my usual type of poetry. That was 2006. Oh, I get it. I know. In 2006 is when I was going through the first levels of divorce. So that I guess it makes sense for that poem to be less cheerful and less creative. Let's see, what's this one? What do I do? Okay. This one might have been a song, but it looks more like a poem. What do I do when I feel like something's missing inside and my heart is feeling empty? I just do some things to make another smile. Oh, sing and clown to make a frown go round. Oh, dance and clown like everyone else. Sometime you got to be crazy. Sometimes you got to clown. You keep others from staying down. If you just try to show a little funniness, do a little dance, sing, oh, try and do a little silliness, and give a laugh and light the gloominess. All this you're doing just for someone else, and you'll see it will fill the emptiness. That's actually a good one. I can see I'm already on the rebound from that poem. That's it for now. I wish I had some more. I probably have some hidden into some poet in some folders from school. I have to go through my other folders to see if I can find some more. Next time it'll be next time it'll be pictures from my art school that I did when I was going to the long distance art Inc. I think is what it's called. Instruction Art Instructions Inc. And some of those pictures I'll show you guys. Some of them I may not show you because they do still, like any art class, they do have you have at some point you have to draw models that are in their bare minimums. So I will not put that in my live. I might show that in a side picture. Thank you, She Devil. Thank you, She Devil's Adventure and Tracy Oceanfire 777. Victoria, May, Ride Share, Road Warrior Rick, Spaceman Dudley, and I noticed somebody else who was here. For common, hey Red, thanks for popping to say hello. You just missed all the reading. I know this is a little longer than other lives, but next time I'll have another story. I don't know if I'm going to continue the story I'm on this next time, or if I'm just going to devote it completely to the story that I wrote when I was 7. I mean, not 7, when I was 12 in 7th grade. So the next time it's going to be a poem about a little girl who ends up stranded on a strange island. And I have to go back through that story and read it to see if I can understand what I'm saying, because when you're younger, you think you're talking and you're not sure if you're making sense, and you go back and read it and you're like, that doesn't make sense. I need to correct that. So I'm going to see what it looks like and what I need to change, or if I'm just going to read it the way it was. But the island is unusual because during the certain seasons, the island gives off food that matches the season. Like in the winter, you have hot soups. In the summer, you have like sandwiches and stuff that you don't have to cook. You can stay cool. And in one of the caves, there's cold things to eat or drink. I remember something like that in the story. I couldn't find it this time, so I did the poetry reading instead. Um, Thanks for coming to visit, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. And the next live feed is going to be the Saturday after the 19th, like this time. At that time, I should be at my sister's house. So if my book of that story that I wrote when I was in 7th grade is there, that's fine, because then it's where it needs to be. Otherwise, I'll check my van to see if I left it in there. My brother took my van for work, so I should be able to get that story to you guys. Hey, old car junkie. Next live, I'm gonna be showing some of my drawings. So I hope to see you guys next live. I'm just closing and finishing out. It's been an hour and sort of kind of 15 minutes. I hope you guys enjoy the story when you watch the replay, Daylight Allergy, and give me some input on, like, I know I need to like vary the voices for the little girl and the mom, and it was hard for me to do right now because my voice is kind of out and I have stuffy nose. So I'm gonna try to do the voice changing when I'm reading next time, so that it's easier for you to tell the difference between the mom and the little girl. And I hope you guys enjoy the story and the drawings next time. And thanks for coming. Take care. See you later.